Parshas Matos. This is a shmuz adapted from the shmuzin of Rav Leib Chasman, Zechat Tzadik Levrocha. It says in Bereshis Lamed, Pasuk Yud Gimel, chapter 30, Pasuk 13. It says there that if a woman makes a vow, and a married woman makes a vow, it says in the pasuk, "V'im hafer yofer oisam isha b'yom shamai." If her husband makes the vow null and void, the husband has the authority to do that. It says lo yakum, the vows do not stand. Isha haferam, her husband has made them void. Hashem yislach lo, and Hashem will forgive her. The Gemara in Nazir, Daf Chav Gimel, explains that this is talking about a woman who made a vow and transgressed her vow. But her husband annulled it without her knowledge. So it comes out that there really was no vow. And she didn't desecrate her vow by any deed, by any action, because there was no vow. The husband annulled it. And on that, the pasuk says, Isha haferam, her husband has annulled the vow, and God will forgive her. So again, we're talking about a woman who transgressed a vow. She thought that her vow was standing, and she transgressed it. But she was unaware that her husband annulled her vow. So really, she didn't do anything, nothing wrong. So God will forgive her. That's what it says in the pasuk. And the question is, this is mystifying. If, why does she need forgiveness? She didn't do anything wrong. If somebody sinned unintentionally even, or intentionally, they did something wrong, unintentionally or intentionally. So we understand that she did something wrong. She committed a sin. But here, there was actually no sin at all. It was only she sinned in her thoughts. In her thoughts, she wanted to transgress her vow. But in truth, there was no vow. So the question is, why does she need forgiveness? It says in the Torah, Hashem yislach lo, God will forgive her. It's different than shogeg or mazid. It's different than unintentional or intentional, because there she did something. There, the person who transgressed unintentionally or intentionally did something wrong. Did he know he was doing wrong? Did he not do he was wrong? But he did something wrong. So there, the transgression stands. But over here, why should the transgression stand? There was no transgression. She thought that she was transgressing, but her husband annulled it, and if her husband annuls it, there's no transgression. Why does she need forgiveness? That's the first question. Furthermore, the Gemara in Nazir, there in the same place, the Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva, when Rabbi Akiva came to this pasuk that God will forgive her, he would cry. It's implied that every time you reach this pasuk, that her husband has made them void and God will forgive her, every time he came to that pasuk, he cried. Because apparently nothing happened, and she still needs forgiveness. And the question is, why is Rabbi Akiva crying every time it reaches the pasuk? There was nothing, no action that was committed here, no action of no prohibitive action, no transgression. It was only in her mind, in her thought. So why should Rabbi Akiva have to cry? It seems that it seems that God will forgive her, and since God has to forgive her, it seems that there was mishpat and din, there was judgment in heaven. There was a judgment in heaven about her, and God forgives her. If once it says God forgives her, that means there was a judgment. There was a din Torah going on in heaven, and something is wrong. Something was done wrong. Since there was a din Torah in heaven, since there was a judgment in heaven, she did something wrong. And this fear of doing something wrong, even in her mind alone, even in a person's mind alone, is proper to cry for, because something wrong was done. True, there won't be punishment, but something was done wrong, and that's why Rabbi Akiva cried. What comes out from all this, that not only are we obligated to ask Hashem for forgiveness for a sin that was done, a deed that was a deed of transgression that was done unintentionally or intentionally, of course. Heaven wants to contend with that person. But even if no action was done, even though there was no maisa, there was nothing done, the only thing was that there was only in machshava, only in her mind did she think she was transgressing, and in reality there was no transgression. Even that, if a person thinks in her mind that she was transgressing, if a person, and not only her but anybody, if they think if they're transgressing even in thought, there's a tviyah min hashamayim, there's a judgment from heaven, and that's what we are all obligated to contend that this should not be, not even a sin in machshava. This is such a revolutionary chiddush. This is a revolutionary revelation, and this is an incredible thing, how much the Torah demands from us and obligates us. Another point on this same thing, how different we are than Rabbi Akiva. When we learn this pasuk, Rabbi Akiva learned this pasuk that she sinned in machshava, in thought, and she needs forgiveness from heaven. Rabbi Akiva cried, something is not kosher here. Something was done wrong. What would our approach be when we see in the pasuk that the pasuk says God will forgive her? We're so happy. God forgives her. Rabbi Akiva, when he sees the pasuk that God will forgive her, he's crying. If we learn this pasuk, Baruch Hashem, there's forgiveness, so nothing is wrong. Look how we have a different approach than Rabbi Akiva, and the reason for it is as follows. because we are very happy, even though we did something wrong, but we are very happy because there's no punishment. God forgives, there's no punishment. We're worried about the punishment. Rabbi Akiva was way beyond that, and Rabbi Akiva was crying because we did something wrong. Even though there's no punishment, but still we acted against what Hashem wants, because we sinned even in our machshava. Hashem should help us that we should be zeicha, that not only should we ask forgiveness from Hashem for deeds that we do wrong, but even if we only sin in our thoughts, in our minds, we should ask forgiveness and do tshuva. Hashem should help us. Amen. Amen.